ஸ்ரீமதி ராமானுஜாய நமः. ஆழ்வார் எம்பெருமானார் ஜெய திருவடிகளே சரணம். ஆச்சாரியன் திருவடிகளே சரணம். நமஸ்காரம் சுவாமி. Bhagavad Gita, chapter 1. Going forward, in Bhagavad Gita, Adiyan will try to explain that in English, because some of my friends do not know Tamil. Though Tamil is a very beautiful language, the language of Alvar, the language I am much comfortable with, because of the insistence of my friends and a few well-wishers. Adiyan would like to, do this Seva Kalam, because I try consciously to avoid using words like Upanyasam or Kalakshebam or discourse or anything like that, because I'm not qualified to do those things. I know my limitations. However, Ariyan would like to share the views of Alvar Acharyas and Embirmanar with respect to Sanatana Dharma. The true essence of Embar Seva is to spread Embirmanar Darshanam and serve Sanatana Dharma. So, yesterday we have actually covered chapter 1 in Tamil. The chapter 1 discusses about the platform. It sets the platform for Bhagavad Gita. It discusses about the predicament of Dhritarashtra, Duryodhana, and even Arjuna, and how each of them had actually seen the battlefield. So it explained all those things. So before delving further into the chapter 1 of Bhagavad Gita, let Adiyan chant Alvar Acharya's Taniyan and also the Taniyan of Bhagavad Gita, Taniyan of Lord Embirman, Kannan Embirman, Krishna. शिवादोलरमा प्रवालरुचिरस्रक्सैन्यनाथांश च श्रीगुर्वेन्द्रमहारिलब्धनिजशक्तं सदाभीष्टदं श्रीरामानुजमुख्यदेशिकलसत्कैङ्कर्य संस्थापकं श्रीमद्वेङ्कटलक्ष्मणार्यमिनं तं सद्गुणं भावये जयाप्ते सिंहरोहिण्यां सञ्जातं सद्गुणानवं श्रीशैललक्ष्मणमुनिं वन्दे वात्सल्यवारिधिं श्रीवादूलरमानिवास सुकुरोह पादाब्जसेवारतम् आत्रेयन्वे वेङ्कटारि कृपया सम्प्राप्त वाक्वैभवं श्रीशैलेशयतीश सुन्दरवर सम्प्राप्त तुर्याश्रमं श्री अप्पन् परकाल सम्यमिवरं सेवे कृपाम्बोनिधिं श्रीशैलेश दयापात्रं दीभक्त्यादि गुणार्णवं यतीन्द्रप्रवणं वन्दे रम्यजा मातरं मुनिं लक्ष्मीनाथ समारम्भां नाथयामनमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्परां यो नित्यमच्युतपदाम्बुज युग्मरुक्म व्यामोहतस्तदितराणि तृणाय मेनि अस्मद्गुरोर् भगवतोऽसि दयैकसिन्धोः रामानुजस्य चरणौ शरणं प्रपद्ये माता पिता युवतयस्तनया विभूतिः सर्वं यदेव नियमेन मदन्वयानामाद्यस्य कुलपतेर्पकुलाभिरामं श्रीमत्तदङ्ग्रियुगलं प्रणमामि मूर्ध्ना भूतं सरश्च महदाह्वयभट्टनाथ श्रीभक्तिसार कुलशेखर योगिवाहान भक्ताङ्ग्रिरेणु परकालयतीन्द्रमिश्रान् श्रीमत्पराङ्कुशमुनिं प्रणतोऽस्मि नित्यम्. Shamika Pratane. I was typing, sharing this link on our Facebook page as well, because this Embar Seva is engaged in Embirmanar Darshanam. That is Seva of Embar, Sri Embar Goshti. We are a very small Goshti. However, we are very committed to spreading Embirmanar Darshanam. We have a Facebook page in the name of Embirmanar Darsanam. It will be both in Tamil and English. I mean, the name Embirmanar Darsanam first in English, then Embirmanar Darsanam in Tamil. There could be several Facebook pages in the same name, but our Facebook page can be identified with this hints. So I am sharing this YouTube link on the page as well. So I'm not very multitasking. So even when I chant our Acharya Arsaniyan Pudhataniyan, I get very nervous because I'm not good at multitasking. So the chapter 1 of Bhagavad Gita, we have seen Adiyan has a Tamil Bhagavad Gita only in my hand because this is written by Karpangadi Swamigal, whom my Acharya considered as his Jnanacharyan. He literally, my Acharya literally followed the advices and anugraham of Karapangadi Swamigal. So everything my Acharya did in his life was due to the anugraham of Karapangadi Swamigal. So he had immense respect on Karapangadi Swamigal. So this book was compiled and published by Aspadacharya through his Thirumal publication. Based on the Upanyasams of Karapangadi Venkatacharya Swami. So this is based on Visishtadvaitam as well. Bhagavad Gita, the I cannot say translation, but the explanation of Bhagavad Gita, because Krishna has spoken various shlokas. Out of 700, more than 600 shlokas were spoken by Krishna, I think. I may be wrong. But majority of the shlokas were spoken by Krishna. A few were like next to Krishna, Arjuna spoke many shlokas in the Bhagavad Gita. But the conversation between Arjuna and Krishna was conveyed by Sanjaya to Dhritarashtra. So this is how Bhagavad Gita goes on. But the whole thing was recorded in Mahabharata, which was related to even the grandchildren of Arjuna, I think. I forgot the name of it. I think Janamajaya, I forgot. So it will come like that. So the essence of the first chapter, because when you look at the first chapter, it talks about a few things, like Duryodhana going to Dronacharya and explaining Dronacharya, who were on the other side against Duryodhana's army led by Dronacharya. It was more like that, describing about the various kings and eminent people who were all up against each other in the battlefield of Kurukshetra. Was it merely about that? Because when you look at the chapter, it sounds so like that. Like Panchajanyam, Rishikesho, Devadattam, Dhananjaya. Even when I was a child, I used to wonder, what is the purpose of mentioning who blew which Shanka? Something like that, it's a battlefield. So why an entire chapter was wasted on mentioning the names of these kings and the names of these counts and stuff like that, but as as Adiyan, especially in my case, as I kept on learning Bhagavad Gita from the perspective of Alvar and Acharya. When I say Alvar and Acharya, they all contribute to Visishtadvaitam, the vision, Ramanuja actually took the blessings of all Alvas and Acharyas before him, and he condensed their blessings, whatever work uh, he did, he presented for all of us. So Bhagavad Gita is one of the explanation of Bhagavad Gita was one of the works of Ramanujacharya. So in this, Ramanujacharya actually explains. I'm not exactly using the words of Ramanujacharya and all the acharyas like Garpangadi, Swamigal and all, because they all actually get the blessings from their acharyas and pass it on to us. So the first chapter is all about um, making us understand the importance of Bhagavad Gita. Duryodhana was utterly traumatized because he didn't want to lose the Rajya, the kingdom. His father was more traumatized than Duryodhana. That's why in the first shloka, his inquiry is like this, Dharmakshetre, Kurukshetre, Samaveda, Yuyutsavaha, Mamaka, Pandavachaya, Kima Kurvata Sanjaya. Sanjaya, please tell me what my children and Pandu's children did in the battlefield of Kurukshetra. He did not say just a battlefield of Kurukshetra. He said Dharmakshetre, the righteous land, the most holiest land, Dharmakshetra, where people perform the righteous acts. So that's Dharma means, the difference between Dharma and Karma is when you engage in karma which is right, that's known as Dharma. So Dharma is not something that you give alms to beggars or do some charity. Charity is not Dharma. Dharma is doing the right act, the right karma. The karma that is prescribed by Veda. That is known as Dharma. So Dharma Kshetra means the people who lived in Kurukshetra, engaged in Dharma. They performed their duties according to Vedas. So they all lived righteous life. So here Dhritarashtra uses the word Dharmakshetra. His intention was to know whether there was any change of heart among his children and the children of Pandus, because his children were not righteous. He knew it. But despite knowing that fact, he thought due to the influence of the land, Duryodhana or even Dharma, the Pandavas, they were always led by Dharma. They followed their elder brothers. The Pandavas followed their elder brother Dharma blindly. Whatever Dharma said, they all followed it. They had such a trust in Dharma. So, because his name itself is Dharma, we say Dharma. Yudhishthira is known as Dharma because it was believed that he followed Dharma. But if you look at what happened in the case of Draupadi in the assembly of Duryodhana when the Vastrahara took place, you would wonder whether Yudhishthira did anything according to Dharma. I'm not going to criticize about Yudhishthira here because that is not the purpose of this attempt. This attempt is all about discussing about Bhagavad Gita. Dhritarashtra was wondering whether Yudhishthira and Duryodhana, due to the influence of the land, Dharmakshetra, Kurukshetra, the Kurukshetram, did anything to prevent the war from happening. Because the war, any battle, any war, that's not a right thing to do because many people die. Many children lose their father. Many wives lose their husband because of the war. because of the adharma. Because of the adharma, they lose all these things. So it affects so many people for so many generations, not just 1 day or 2 day. Because of that, Dhritarashtra was wondering whether Dharma was taking any steps from preventing the war. Like preventing the war from happening. So he was just wondering, um, due to the influence of the Dharma Kshetra, something happened or not. So he asked Sanjaya what happened, and Sanjaya was narrating everything. In the first chapter, we also see, how Arjuna was disturbed initially. Arjuna, we know Krishna was the Parthasarathi, the chariot driver of Arjuna. He agreed to drive the chariot of Arjuna. So Arjuna requested Krishna to take him uh, to the center of the battlefield, where he could see Duryodhana's army and his army. He especially wanted to look at the army of Duryodhana because he wanted to know who were up against him. So he says, Krishna, please take me to Duryodhana's place, place me close to him. I want to take a look at those people, those bad people who wanted to do such a horrible thing. And he was not saying it out of compassion or out of um, humbleness or anything. He was very arrogant when he even asked Krishna, hey, Krishna, take me there. It was more like a very casual talk because he was so full of pride. He was kind of an arrogant person at that point of time, maybe due to the frustration that was caused by Duryodhana and all his brothers. But every frustration, could be seen in the words of Arjuna in the first verse, that he uttered in Bhagavad Gita. Arjuna says, Krishna, just take me Senayo Rupayo Matye Ratham Stapaya Mechita Yavadetan Nirisheham Yotu Kamana Vastitan Kairmaya Saha Yodavya Masmin Rana Samutyame Yotsyamana Navesheham Yadestra Samaktaha Dadrashtrasya Durbuddher Yuddhe Priya Si Kirshavaha. So, I wanted to see the bad people, the people with bad thought who wanted to help Duryodhana, the Dhritarashtra's son Duryodhana. He wanted to see them. So he could prepare well ahead of them in the army, in the battle, because the purpose of the battle is to win it, isn't it? So he was all about winning the battle, assessing the strength of his opponents. So he asked Krishna to take him. But with a single word, Krishna changed the attitude of the Arjuna. People say that Krishna used the word kuru, especially to make Arjuna realize that it was not the time to be very arrogant or proud or agitated or anxious or anything. It was actually the time to be conscious of what Dharma was about. You are battling against these people to protect Dharma, nothing else. Not to protect your family, not to protect your ego, not to protect anything, but to protect the Dharma so that the humanity could live happily thereafter. No, the purpose is Tondan, Tondan, Tondan. Alvar always says, like we always think we have to serve Embirman. Kannan Kadalini, Nannam Manamudir, Innam Tiranamam, Tinnam Naraname. The reason we chant Mahamantra, Shiman Narayana, is to serve the lotus feet of Embirman. But how? What is serving the lotus feet of? See, have you ever wondered why Alvars always talked about the lotus feet of Krishna? Because lotus feet is where all the devotees, all the bhaktas would go to. Would merge with, you could say, or they would stay very closer to the lotus feet of Krishna, serving Krishna. So when you serve his lotus feet, you will be literally serving the devotees who are at the lotus feet of Krishna, isn't it? So tondan, tondan, tondan. So that is the significance of serving the lotus feet of Krishna, as well as following the words of Arvas. Like right from Nammarva, the head of all Arvas, to the last Arva, Thirumangai Mannan. They all taught us to engage in the service of Bhagavatas. Tondan, tondan, tondan. We don't have to serve great Bhagavatas because there will be many people to serve them. We have to serve the Bhagavatas who won't have any support from others. So tondan, 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 like Tondaradi Podi Alvar. The Alvar calls himself as Tondaradi Podi Alvar. Podi means the dust particle that could be found at the lotus feet of devotees. So you serve that Tondaradi Podi Alvar. So I'm less significant than the dust particle that could be found at the lotus feet of devotees. This Alvar says himself like that, Tondaradi Podi Alvar. So the Pachema Malepol Mini Pavaravai Kamalachangan பவளவாய் கமலச்செங்கன் அச்சுதா அமரரேறு ஆயிரத்தம் குழந்தேன் அச்சுவை தவிர யான் போய் இந்திர லோகமாலும் அச்சுவை பெரினும் வேண்டேன் அரங்கமா நகருளானே. This verse is quite famous all over India, not only in Tamil Nadu, but all over India, because of the simplicity of the verses, because of the beauty of the verse. This was part of Tirumale of Tondaradi Podialvar. So in the chapter, you can see how Arjuna was kind of arrogant before the war started, and how Krishna made Arjuna realize that it was not about being arrogant or winning the battle. It was not about that. It was about winning the battle for protecting the Dharma. So he said, like, hey Arjuna, see, look at your family, your Kuru Vamsa, your dynasty. So you want to see who those bad people are? They are not other than your own family. So you are going to see your own grandfathers, uncles, your brothers, children, close friends, everyone. So look at them. He just directed Arjuna in the direction of his own family and friends. Then the realization struck Arjuna. Oh my goodness, I am against my own family. What am I supposed to do? Am I supposed to carry on the fighting spirit, or am I going to do something, to protect my family, to make them very comfortable? What am I going to do? Killing my family, my acharyas, because Dronacharya was the acharya of Arjuna as well, who taught him everything, who taught Arjuna everything. So they were all standing in the battlefield against him. Looking at them, Arjuna was very confused, perplexed, so anxious. He didn't want to harm them. He didn't know what to do. A great grief. He was in a grief. Then Arjuna actually says these things to Krishna. Krishna, I don't want to. So though, when you are fighting against adharma, what is adharma? Anything that is opposite to dharma is adharma. It's a simple definition for that. But what those things are, and we might wonder, often what the dharma and adharma, because people may say that it can change from time to time. But those who believe in Sanatana Dharma, we know the basic dharma of Vedas remain always same. They don't change from time to time. No. Because of the influence of adharma, we change certain things because we want to please everyone. People pleaser, we cannot be people pleaser. We have to please only Lord Embirman, Kannan Embirman. So Ispugappu is very important. When we start pleasing each and everyone, we compromise a lot. So as we compromise everything, we compromise dharma, we compromise everything. Eventually, we lose Sanatana Dharma itself. We compromise our own Sanatana Dharma, Vedas, Embirmanar, Darsanam, everything. There won't be nothing to serve actually, other than our own Ahankara with like self-centered ideologies. And eventually, the humanity will also lose its purpose. The humanity, the service to human being. When I say humanity, I just mean in English, I mean the same concept of what Alvar and Acharya were trying to teach us. We have to help each other. கூடி இருந்து குளிர்ந்தேலோராய் குளிர்ந்தேலோர் எம்பாவாய் திருப்பாவை every day we chant that. Everyone should be happy. Overcoming samsara is not about punishing people. Overcoming samsara is not about torturing people. Overcoming samsara is not isolating yourself from people. It's not that. People think being egantam, like to be in egantam or eganti means avoiding people. No, a true sannyasi will not avoid people but serve people. He serves community. In the grahastham, you serve only your own family. You're not expected to serve the entire community. But in sannyasam, the sannyasi serves the entire community. So that's why sannyasa is held at a higher regard, because the person like takes a bold step, to come forward and put himself in the service of others. So it is such a good ashrama. It was encouraged. In the Sanatana Dharma, we encourage all the ashramas, right from brahmacharya through sannyasam. We don't consider one ashrama greater than the other ashrama. Sometimes we may say like brahmacharya is greater than grahastham, grahastham is greater than sannyasam, sannyasam is greater than vanaprastham is greater than brahmacharya, something like that, to glorify the particular ashrama. It doesn't mean that this ashrama is greater than that ashrama. We need all these ashramas to work in harmony, hand in hand, so that we can protect the dharma. So the ashrama is that even sannyasi can be a Brahmin, sannyasi can be a Kshatriya, sannyasi can be a Vaishya, sannyasi can be a Shudra. The other way around also, like a Shudra can be a sannyasi, anybody can be a sannyasi. Anybody can take up the ashrama of grahastham, brahmacharya. So ashrama, they are common for all the varnashrama. So now let's go back to the purpose of the chapter 1. Why? It's just a realization I'm sharing, because many times, we read Bhagavad Gita, we read shlokas, we chant more like a CD player or a parrot without understanding the meaning of it. But we take some time, to reflect upon the meaning of it. In the first chapter, Arjuna, when Krishna made Arjuna see the actual people were up against him, Arjuna actually was struck with great grief, and he was talking about all these things. We saw, Jadi Kalapa. Jadi Kalapa means mixing of jatis. In the Bhagavad Gita, in those generation, jati is not something that we see now. Jati was different. It was based on who did what. Varnashrama Dharma and jati, they were all, kind of hand in hand together. Based on the Varnashrama, jati formed. Jati is based on the, because the 4 ashrama, like Varnashrama, apart from this Grahastham, that ashrama, the another 4, Kshatriya, Brahmana, Vaisya, and Shudra, these are known as the Varnashrama. In this, within Brahmana, there are many jatis. There could be. Within Vaishyas, there could be many jatis. Jatis means not like something, one near Nadar, Mudaliyar, Vadagali, Tengali, Brahmana, Iyengar, Iyer, not this one. That's our Ahankara Mamadai, which actually made this kind of division. Jati means within Brahmanas, some Brahmanas will take up the rituals of chanting Vedas. Some Brahmanas will take up the role of teaching children about Veda, significance of Veda. Some Brahmanas will help some rishis conduct yajna. They will arrange things, there will be many roles and responsibilities among the same community of like this Varnashrama. Similarly, there will be many Shakti. I mean, not everyone will do the same thing. Some will be protecting king, some will be protecting the citizens, some will be protecting the places, some will be doing like in police, like you in the or there is a army, there is a police, there is constable, inspector, sub-inspector. There are many classification. Each has its own roles and responsibility um, to protect the government and people, isn't it? Similarly, the jatis were based on the roles and responsibilities of the main varnashrama. And it is not about making one superior than the other. No, no, all were treated equally, and Veda did not discriminate against anybody based on anything like skin color or ashrama or the language or anything. No, there is one Paramatma, the rest are Jivatma. All the Jivatmas are same according to Veda. So the jati here, when they say jati kalapu, means if Brahmana, even within that, if you do not have the skill but try to do something, that could be dangerous, isn't it? For an example, there is an emergency. You just assume there is an emergency, like COVID happened. We ran out of doctors. The many skilled professionals during that time. There were many patients, but less number of skilled professionals. Just imagine, because of the lack of skilled professionals, if a nurse was doing the job of a doctor, I mean, specialist, certain thing can be done by a nurse, like a GP's role, looking after the patient. But just can you um, like have the confidence in a nurse that they could perform the roles of a surgeon? Would you put yourself at the hand of a nurse for your heart surgery, for your eye surgery, for your um, any kind of surgery? If they're left with no choice but to do this kind of job, there will be a lot of dangers, risk to people, to the society, isn't it? So the jati kalap according to Bhagavad Gita, the mix of the jatis is all about this thing. People without the skill, if they do the role of another person, that will be destruction of the great society. So because of the war, if you just imagine, there are no people die, but the action must happen. Like you need farmers to grow plants, you need some people to take care of cow, you need some people to teach people, you need some people to look after the sick people or treat sick people, you need people to do certain job. But if many men and because men used to participate in the war in those days, even now majority of men participate, even though some women are trying to be part of armed forces like armies and all those things. Still it is men, in the most of the countries, uh, since time immemorial, they participated in all these battles of wars. So when men die, there will be more number of women but less number of men. Um, so there will be lots of disruption in the social system. So jadi kalapu means disruption in the social system, not about the jati that we have in the birth certificate in India, especially if you are from India. Because this system, again, I'm not going to say that it's an Indian fault. No, this jati, these things were introduced into India by colonizers. Our ancestors never had such system. If you look at the past history, like 1,000 years ago, we never had this kind of jati system, we had only varnashrama. And the jati was based on this thing, the roles and responsibility of the varnashrama. It was not based on the colonizer's attitude. So the present day jati, present day caste system is built by the British when they ruled India to divide us so that they could conquer us. So the present day caste system, the present day jati, they are all formed by these, they were the main forces behind. Before the Nada means, yeah, there were Mudaliyar, there were Nada, but these people were, engaging in particular um, profession. Based on their profession, they were known as that particular jati, not to make one jati superior than the other jati. So we have to understand our Sanatana Dharma. Again, coming back to the Kula Dharma. See, he was worried about the Kula Dharma. See, again, same. Every Kulam means the community. They have certain, we say farmers community, weavers community, they weave clothes, and then teachers community. Every community has certain obligations to do. When there are less number of people, this less number, whoever are available, they are supposed to do all these things. So we divide, oh, you do this, you do this, you do this. There won't be any guarantee that the people who engage in these kainkariam will be specialized in it. So that's why the Jati Kalapu and Kula Dharma, when we Kula Dharma, when you talk about Kula Dharma, the community teaches the value, the school system, you learn certain things from your parents, from your ancestors, from your forefathers, So certain things are passed on to the children, the next generation, by their ancestors, by their parents, forefathers. And so you lose that, you lose, the wisdom is lost. When that wisdom is lost, there will be a lot of disruption in the society. So he was worried of all these things. Then he was worried about women. It was not about chastity, so only women. Why Arjuna was worried of women? Like, so many feminists asked this question. So Arjuna was worried that women would marry another man after the war, because she would have lost her husband, so she would like to marry someone, after that. Arjuna was worried of it. Many people um, mistake this also. No. When many men lose their life, how would she find better man? So it is not about marriage or remarriage. It's about protecting the women. When women have nobody to look after at that time, it's not a modern day world. Women go to IT or call center. What do women do in the modern days? Call center, they work in call center, they go to school. Even school teachers are not safe at the school. We hear a lot of things. We talk about feminism, but on the other hand, what we see in the society is something very horrible. Women are not safe anywhere. Wherever they go, they are not safe. Even they are not safe within their own family. So Arjuna was concerned about those things. Women are generally in a vulnerable position due to war. When good people die in the war, they might be in the hands of wrong people. So their safety could be compromised. So Arjuna was worried of all these things. So saying all these things, so if I engage in the war, if I kill so many people, I, in the sense, not just him, his whole army. So when they both kill each other, there will be only destruction, lots of lives, lost lives, isn't it? So he was worried of all these things. So he was so anxious. He was getting anxious as he started reflecting upon what would happen due to the war, the consequence of the war. We see what happens in Gaza. You can literally see what happens in 30 days. How many lives lost in Gaza? Um, India might have a different take on the war of Gaza, because it was always like a conflict between Hindu and Muslim. It could be seen that way. Unfortunately, In Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna says one thing very clearly. A true yogi, karma yogi, bhakti yogi, jnana yogi, they all are same. It's not that karma yogi is different from bhakti yogi. No. With bhakti, you understand what karma you have to engage in. So, all these yogis will do the same thing only. Without, uh, you know, the right knowledge, jnanam, you cannot engage in right karmas. You cannot become a karma yogi without jnanam. So, a karma yogi by default would also be a jnana yogi. Similarly, with only jnanam, you cannot attain anything. You need to engage in right karma. So the jnana yogi would engage in right karma because of the jnanam he attained. So you would also be a karma yogi. So we do not have to separate one yogi from others. So that's why when we say yogi, the yogi will have the knowledge of what karma he has to do, and what's the right karma to do, how to do, um, how the devotion, with the devotion you do the right thing with the devotion, not just for you. You can say, oh, I'm a very good person, I do not harm anybody, I don't do anything. Sometimes, if you ask someone, have you ever helped anyone? See, don't ask me this kind of hypothetical question. I don't harm anybody. I am into myself. I don't harm anyone. I don't help anyone. I neither help nor harm. I do my duty very well. Some people say like that. Is it a good thing to do? A true jnana yogi would not be like that. Because the true jnana yogi or bhakti, the bhakti is about, helping others as well. According to the will of Emberman is Vugappu. So when someone is suffering, you cannot ignore that and carry on with your own work, saying that, oh, I'm not harming them. That's their karma they are suffering from. So if you see a woman lying on the road due to some accident, bleeding heavily, and she also happened to be a pregnant woman, would you say, oh, her karma is punishing? She must have done something wrong in the past. So her karma is punishing. I have an important work to do. I have my own challenges to overcome. So I have to go because now the time is 9. I have to be at my office by 9:30. If I help the woman, if I take her to hospital, and I can't go to my work at the right time, my boss might be very angry. I could end up losing my job. Then my family would also suffer. I don't have time for this thing. If you go like that, um, and sometimes people do that. It's a very unfortunate situation. But would you call yourself a karma yogi? People say, I do my karma very well. I'm a karma yogi. No. The yogi, that name, you have to do what is right. So saving that women, taking her to the hospital, protecting her is the most important duty than going to work and doing something with your laptop or something. Just for instance, I just shared this example. Um, it could be a small issue, it could be a big issue, but when you don't follow the dharma, when you don't do the right thing, even if you do something which is not harming anybody, and you are doing according to your own will, according to your own understanding that it is right, it cannot be right. It may not be right as well. So now Arjuna was thinking all these things, reflecting all these things, and Sanjaya says, "Oh, Arjuna was worried of the destruction that would happen to families, that would happen to women, that would happen to communities, that would happen to Varnashrama. He was worried of everything. You know, he was not worried of what dharma could be, but he was worried of all these things because he thought." Uh, Fighting against people who he thought bad, could also cause all these disruption to the society. So he was so confused. With that confusion, he surrendered at the lotus feet of Krishna and he requested Krishna to guide him, help him understand what's right. So we are going to see those things in the chapter 2. So again, reflection, this day is all about reflecting the chapter 1. As we saw from the case of Arjuna, you know, because he said, my mouth became dry, my hands are shivering. I'm not able to think anything, Krishna. Oh, instead of killing my own acharyas, my own family, even Duryodhana's children are my children as well. They are my. Instead of killing them, I would rather go to. I would rather die or go to forest, something like that. He was actually thinking of giving up on the war. Sometimes, just take yourself. If you are in a predicament, if you are in a very anxious state, what causes you anxiety? Why you become very stressful? Uh, an illness can make somebody anxious, stressful, or depressed. Some issues in the family. If, for an example, you don't have to suffer from any illness, even if one of your close family members suffer from any illness, you will be as anxious as you would be when you suffer from some illness, isn't it? So, anxiety can be triggered by various things, like losing job and saying something bad also. For me, if I look at the happenings in Gaza, and I get kind of anxious. I feel very frustrated. I feel very helpless. Oh, it's happening at the time when I am in this bulloka, when I live, but I'm not able to do anything for them other than just praying. But we can all do more than that. We all have the power. We help governments form. We vote for the governments. We have the capacity to ask government, but we don't use our um, strength in a positive way. That was like Arjuna had the strength. Initially, he thought he could easily win them. He actually thought, I am alone. I am enough. I can alone win Duryodhana and his army. He had such a confidence. But later, when he realized he was fighting against his own family, he became anxious. He became very depressed. He was having second thoughts. He didn't even want to fight against them. So something like that. Um, we are all in the position of Arjuna or Duryodhana most of the time. Either in the position of Arjuna or in the Duryodhana wanted to engage in the war, because he wanted the kingdom for all. I mean, uh, all the kingdom for himself. He didn't want to share it. Arjuna wanted to fight for the dignity of his wife, Draupadi, and also for, you know, the protection of citizens who believed Dharma could rule them in a proper way. So, the intention of Arjuna and the intention of Duryodhana were all different. However, the intention of Krishna prevailed. So Krishna was always mistaken as someone who was very manipulative. No, Krishna was very straightforward. His intention is very clear. You have to follow what dharma is. So that's what he's going to explain. So Bhagavad Gita is all about what dharma can be. So when we look at Bhagavad Gita, sometimes what happens is we think of movies that we saw, we think of TV serials that we watched when we were young, even now, because I don't watch much of the TV serials because I don't live in India. But that could be, I mean, there could be some serials now also, like based on Mahabharata, based on Ramayana, because these are Itikasha of India, the Bharata Desam, Bharata Varsham, our Punya Bhumi, our Karma Bhumi. So they could be read and again in various versions and all. But the version we have to take is the one which is written by Vyasa. So according to the Vyasa, we have to learn Bhagavad Gita. The Vyasa wrote Bhagavad Gita as it is. He did not add his own ideologies or anything. So the Vyasa's Mahabharata, the Bhagavad Gita contains these shlokas. So that is why you have to learn from a good teacher, a great teacher who follows Veda. So those who do not know Veda cannot teach Bhagavad Gita in a correct sense. So it is all very important for us to learn Bhagavad Gita from the right people. So that's why we say, Bhuve, Ubaya Vedanti. It means the person with the title Uve will be qualified in Vedas as well as in Aruli Chelgal, Nalayira Divya Prabandham, which is known as Tamil Vedravida Vedam. So these great Mahans, great Acharyas, they would be qualified in both of these Vedams, Sanskrit Vedam and Tamil Vedam, Tamil Marai. Nalayira Divya Prabandham is known as Tamil Marai. Tomorrow we have Visakam. So I want to end this session with the announcement of Visakam Seva Kalam. Tomorrow we have Visakam, so I won't be able to go on with the Bhagavad Gita. The entire day is dedicated to Namalvar. So we start our Seva Kalam at 5:30 in the morning. All Indian time only, Bharata Desam, wherever we live. We always stick to the timings of Bharata Desam, Bharata Varsham, because it's especially Srirangam, around the timing is Srirangam. And Bharata Desam can be very vast. When I mean Bharata Desam, I'm the timing and all. I mean the timing of Srirangam. So from 5:30 a.m. in the morning, the Seva Kalam, Vishakam Seva Kalam starts. It will go until 7 p.m., 6:30, 7 p.m. in the evening. And we chant Tirupavai and then all the works of Nammalvar, Thiruvirtham, Thiruvasriyam, Periya Thiruvandadi, and even we chant Thirumangai Alva's Thirukurundadagam, Tirunarundadagam, and then Nammalvar's work, the entire Thiruvaimari. Then we finish it with Ramanujanuthandadi. So this is how we chant the whole day. There will be 1 hour gap for the Goshi to have lunch prasadam. Then we will rejoin. The Seva Kalam can be live streamed. Embirman are willing because we don't have a big technical team. We are a small team, small Goshi. We're trying to do whatever we could do, to teach ourselves about Embirmanar Darsanam so that we can also be of little use to spreading Embirmanar Darsanam. So, because of the small Goshi, we are not able to do many activities like live streaming, sharing the videos with, the work with others. So again, like try to do as much as I can, but I'm not very good at multitasking. So tomorrow, Embirman are willing, the Seva Kalam will be live streamed, but we chant either on Skype or on Zoom based on the technical availability. Sometimes Zoom works well. Sometimes Skype works well for our Goshti because it all depends upon the Goshti member. Some people may not be able to join on Skype, so we switch to Zoom. Then we switch to other modes as well if we are not able to, continue due to technical issues. We have several platforms, but I'll try to live stream on Facebook as much as I can, at least Sathimurai. So I look forward to spreading Embirmanar Darsanam as much as I can. As I said in the beginning of this session, the purpose of sharing this in English is to help some of my Goshi members and some of the friends to understand, because some do not understand Tamil at all, but they still chant Nalayira Divya Prabandham, but they can't understand Tamil. They may understand English. I'm not good at Tamil. I'm not good at English. I have to accept this. I'm not good at any languages because Tamil is not my mother tongue, but I can read, write, and converse in Tamil. But I'm not very confident in Tamil also. I'm not good at my mother tongue too. So I'm not a person with the linguistic capabilities. But despite all these challenges, I believe, when you're very, very sincere, Embirmana guides you. So, Embirmana, the lotus feet of Udayavar, who takes us to the lotus feet of Embirman, Kandan Embirman. I finish this Seva Kalam with the Mangalam. श्रीरङ्गमङ्गलनिधिं करुणानिवासं श्रीवेङ्कटाद्रिशिखरालयकालमेघं श्रीहस्तिशैलशिखरोज्ज्वलपारिजातं श्रीसं नमामि शिरसा यदुशैलदीपं लक्ष्मीचरणलाक्षाङ्कसाक्षात् श्रीवत्स वक्षसे श्रीमङ्कराय सर्वेशा श्रीरङ्गेशाय मङ्गलम् श्रीमते रम्यजामातृमुनीन्द्राय महात्मने श्रीरङ्गवासिने भूयात् नित्यश्री नित्यमङ्गलम् श्रीमन्महार्य करुणालब्धविज्ञानसम्पत्ते श्रीशैलक्ष्मणमुनये नित्यश्री नित्यमङ्गलम् मङ्गलाशासनपरैः मदाचार्य पुरोगमैः सर्वैश्च पूर्वैराचार्यैः सत्कृतायास्तु मङ्गलम् श्रीभूतपुरे वेङ्कटलक्ष्मण मुनिमानसवासिने श्री अपन्परकाल रामानुज एम्बार्मुनये नित्यश्री नित्यमङ्गलम्. I once again thank my Acharya Shri Appanparakala Ramanuja Embaji Swami for giving this Bhagavad Gita and for giving me the thought to take Bhagavad Gita to nook and corner of the world, and for even giving me the confidence to do this kind of Hankaryam, for guiding me, for directing me, for being with me, for everything. And only Acharyan Trivadigal is with me all the time, and it has been always my pillar of strength. So with the Acharyan Trivadigal's guidance, I take leave now. Look forward to seeing tomorrow during Vishakam Sevakalam, and look forward to continuing this Bhagavad Gita until all the chapters, the 18 chapters complete. Adiyan Ramanjadasi. Alvaram Birmanar Jiyat Thiruvadigalే Saranam, Acharyan Thiruvadigalே Saranam, Goshya Thiruvadigalே Saranam.
அடியேன் ஆழ்வாரன் பெருமானார் ஜியர் திருவடிகளே சரணம். ஆச்சாரியன் திருவடிகளே சரணம். கோஷ்டியர் திருவடிகளே சரணம். ஸ்ரீமதே ராமானுஜாய நம. சியாமா திருவடிகளே சரணம்.
Adiyan Swami, Goda Swami Thiruvadigalே Saranam. Adiyan, Danyusmi Swami. Because of